Hi guys, welcome back. Let's take a look at rules guiding inequalities. So what we'll be looking at in this video is just the rules. Now next video we'll start solving questions under inequality. Now the very first rule states that whenever you have something like this, A to be greater than B, during the course of solving, you are getting A to be greater than B. For example, while solving, you are getting 7 to be greater than X. You want to make the final answer in such a way that X will be on the left hand side. Now, if you do that, you are going to be having a X is less than 7, which makes sense because if 7 is greater than X, it means X must be less than 7. So if that is the case, whenever A is greater than B, it simply means that B must be less than A. That means if you have 8 to be greater than 6, which you already know, 8 is greater than 6. So you can see that 6 is less than what? 8. 8 cannot be greater than 6, and 6 will also be greater than 8. It does not make any sense. So that's the first rule. Whenever you interchange the left hand side and the right hand side, you change your inequality sign. Now over to the second rule. For the second rule, if you have A to be greater than B and you are adding a number to both sides of the inequality sign, you are adding a number to both sides of the inequality sign, your inequality sign remains intact. Now let's check if that is true. Now let's check if that is true. So we all know that 8 is greater than 6. Now let's add any value to 8 and 6. Let's add 3. If I add 3 to 8, I'll be having 11. Add 3 to 6, I'll be having 9. You can see that 11 is also greater than 9. So this rule is very correct. Similarly, if you have A to be greater than B and you choose to subtract from both sides, that means A minus X and you have B minus X, your sign must remain the same. You know why we are doing same thing to both sides, because whatever you do to the left hand side, you must do to the right hand side. But for inequality, you have to check if your sign will change or your sign will remain the same. So if I subtract from both sides, my sign will remain the same. So let's check. 11 is greater than 9, we all know. Let's subtract 5 from here. If I subtract 5 from here, I'll be having a 6. So if I subtract 5 from here, I'll be having a 4. And it is obvious that 6 is also greater than 4. You see, subtracting from both sides, my inequality sign remains the same. Now to the next rule, if I have A to be greater than B and I want to multiply both sides by a positive value of X, that means I multiply both sides by X where X is greater than 0, which means that X is positive. I'm multiplying both sides by X where X is greater than 0, meaning that X is positive. My AX will also be greater than BX. Makes sense because if I multiply this guy by positive 2, this guy will be 12 and this guy will be 8, and it's obvious that 12 is greater than 8. So this is correct. Similarly, A is greater than B. I'm dividing both sides by X. X is positive. That means X is greater than 0. You can write it as X is positive, a positive value. In this case, AX will also be greater than BX. Now let's check. Let's divide both sides by 2. If I divide there by 2, this will give me 6. Divide there by 2, this will give me 4. 6 is greater than 4, so it is very correct. So when you multiply both sides by a positive value or you divide both sides by a positive value, your inequality sign will not change. Now the last part is when you multiply or divide by a negative value. Now for a negative value, you have A to be greater than B. Let's multiply by negative X. That means X is less than 0, or you can write X is negative. So in this case, my AX will be less than BX. That means when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to change your inequality sign. So if here were to be negative, here has to be positive. But since here is positive, here has to be negative. Now let's check if that is true. If I have 3 and I have 2, 3 is obviously greater than 2. So I can put that here. Now let's multiply 2 by negative 5. Negative 5 times 3 will give me a negative 15. Negative 5 times 2 will give me a negative 10. Now you ask yourself, negative 15, negative 10, which one is bigger? It's obvious that negative 10 is bigger than negative 15. So you can see that my sign has changed. So when you multiply by a negative sign, your sign has to what? Change. Now lastly, A is greater than B. I'm multiplying, I'm dividing by negative X. That means X is less than 0. I can write X is negative. So if that's the case, my AX must be less than BX. Now let's check if that's true. I have my 10. I have my 10 to be greater than 5. Now let's divide both sides by -5. If I divide there by -5, this will give me a -2. Divide there by -5, this will give me a -1. Now -2 is not greater than -1, it is less than -1. So you can see that your sign has what? Change. So when you divide by a negative sign, your sign has to change. So my AX will be less than BX. So once you digest all these rules under inequality, I believe there's no question in linear inequality at most that should give you issues. In our next video, we'll be looking at line diagram. That means how you arrange inequality in your line diagram. Thanks for watching. Kindly like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, share, and leave your comment below. Thanks for watching once more. See you guys in my next video.